Tonight was the season premiere of SmackDown 24 hours before Extreme Rules, and Impact decided to run their biggest pay-per-view of the year at the exact same time. Seriously, whose bright idea was it for Impact to run Bound for Glory opposite SmackDown tonight? I know months ago when they announced the pay-per-view, initially they had announced a different date. They had announced tomorrow night. But apparently that was a mistake. I don't believe they were ever supposed to run on the 8th. They were not going to run head-to-head with Extreme Rules. But this is the only big pay-per-view, WWE or AEW pay-per-view of the entire month. Could they not run next week or the week after? Did they have to run tonight? I posed a legitimate question on social media. You should see some of the responses that I got. Oh, they didn't like that. They didn't like me bringing up that question. I think it's a perfectly logical question. Apparently, you can't ask a question without offending people. Everybody is so hypersensitive these days. But what a stupid fucking thing to do. I keep seeing updates on my timeline about Bully Ray and Dirty Dango. I'm sorry I missed that show. Impact's got a hell of a women's division, I will say that. But, yeah, beyond that, not a very smart move, I think, to run tonight. This was the first night of our new SmackDown announce team. WWE shook up their announce teams this week. I'm going to talk more extensively about this on the podcast on Sunday, but tonight was our first night with Michael Cole and Wade Barrett on commentary. No more Michael Cole and Corey Graves on Fridays. They're going to be the pay-per-view team going forward. So tomorrow night, we are going to get Michael Cole and Corey Graves at Extreme Rules, as we will every pay-per-view going forward. But tonight was Wade's first night in the chair next to Michael Cole. I thought he did a fine job. I was very happy to see him get the shot. We had a main event tonight. This was, of course, I mean, you knew going into the show tonight, this was going to be the highlight of the night, of course. Nothing else was going to top this. Sheamus and Walter for the Intercontinental Championship. And I love the way they built this thing up throughout the night. They showed tweets, which, you know, obviously they had all their people put tweets out, but they had Bret Hart, and they had Kurt Angle, and they had Shawn Michaels, and I think they had the Honky Tonk Man, and they had The Miz. All of these different people tweeting about the Intercontinental title, what it meant to them, how much they were looking forward to this match, how much they loved the first match between these two. Really did their best to try to build this up into a big deal, as they should, because Sheamus and Walter went out at Clash at the Castle and had arguably the match of the year in WWE. And maybe when this year is over, it'll be up there with the FTR and the Briscoes and all the other great matches that we've seen as the greatest thing that we've seen all year long. So could they top what they did at Clash at the Castle? It was going to be very difficult because you're on television. You've got commercials. It's tough. I won't say that they topped what they did at Clash at the Castle because they did not. But they had a hell of a fucking match in the main event tonight. And it actually went exactly the way that I figured it would, and I'm glad it went the way that it did. So we'll talk about the match and why I feel like things are now perfectly set up for WrestleMania next year. Including everyone is talking about a potential botch in the main event, which, by the way, I don't think was a botch. But even if it was, something that happened in the main event that could play perfectly into the story of running this thing back for a third time. So we had that as our main event tonight. We had the Bloodline. On this show, Roman Reigns was set to confront Logan Paul. That's what this show was really built around, Roman Reigns and Logan Paul. That actually was the least exciting thing on the entire show. That was a huge disappointment. For all the build on the big season premiere, these two were going to go face-to-face in the ring on TV. That was a big letdown. Actually, one of the weakest Bloodline segments that we have seen so far. But there was more good stuff tonight involving Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. We also had the final White Rabbit tease, and there were a lot of them on the show tonight, from the QR code and the opening shot of the show with Triple H in the ring to the various commercials that they aired on the show with the animated rabbit. They actually aired a video of a white rabbit. It was in video game form, running towards an X that was on the ground, and it kind of digs a hole in the X and then it dives in. It's like the earth opens up, and then we see flames shooting out. We hear screaming and squealing, and then the video ends with the date October 8th, tomorrow's date. And then I think in various languages, ultimately with English, the words "feed your head." There was also a white rabbit in the crowd behind the announcers at one point later in the show. But we're going to talk about what that QR code led to, as if we didn't know what this was building to. Tonight was confirmation of what we can expect with the payoff to the white rabbit stuff, which very likely will take place tomorrow night. But that's tomorrow night. We got to talk about tonight first. This was WWE's SmackDown season premiere, and this is your SmackDown review for Friday, October 7, 2022. I am the Solomonster, still celebrating my birthday hangover, my big milestone birthday yesterday. I got to thank all you guys for hanging out with me on Wednesday night, right on into midnight, celebrating with me, all your support. It very much is appreciated. We're still celebrating tonight. I know I am. So it's good to be back with you here on a Friday night. Hit that subscribe button if you would do so. Super chats are open, and we need a minimum 500 likes to do Be the Booker tonight. We had a very entertaining Be the Booker on Wednesday. It did not go the way that I was hoping it would go. If we end up doing one tonight, if we hit the goal, I don't see how we could possibly do any worse than we did on Wednesday. I feel like it would be impossible to do any worse. We'll see if we have that opportunity a little bit later on. Before we get into all of this WWE stuff, thank you for the birthday messages. You're very kind. Thank you very much. We're not talking baseball on this stream. This is a baseball-free zone. I'm banning all baseball talk tonight. Before we get into any of the wrestling stuff, we have breaking news from AEW, which is on the air right now as we speak. Rampage is live tonight, as is Battle of the Belts. I'm going to save any talk and thoughts on that for the podcast on Sunday. This is going to be a SmackDown and Extreme Rules focused stream. Although, again, whatever questions you may have, feel free to send them on in. But we do have breaking AEW news that we have to get to first, because AEW issued a press release during SmackDown tonight announcing that the current AEW World Champion, Jon Moxley, has signed a 5-year extension with the company, expanding his roles beyond wrestling and into mentorship and coaching. I'll just read you the main paragraph here. AEW CEO, GM, and head of creative. See, they forgot to include his other title, headmaster of All Elite Daycare. They should slip that in there as well. He's not just the CEO and the head of creative, he is the headmaster for All Elite Daycare. Tony Khan announced that AEW World Champion Jon Moxley has signed a 5-year contract extension. This ensures that one of professional wrestling's top stars will remain in All Elite Wrestling through 2027, while expanding his responsibilities to include mentoring and coaching talent. And boy, does this talent need coaching on a lot of things these days. Moving forward, Moxley will work exclusively for AEW and its international partners, including New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he is a 2-time IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion. That's an interesting way of phrasing it, exclusively for AEW, plus their international partners like New Japan, because Moxley's been doing a lot of indies. He's, I think, at the moment, even, he is, I believe, still the GCW heavyweight champion, but he's been doing various independent shows. So I don't know if the language there is any sort of indication that he will not be doing that going forward, or that could just be their way of saying that he's with us and not with WWE. But per PW Insider, the deal was actually signed right around the All Out pay-per-view. So this is not new. It's just that it came out now. But apparently this happened about a month ago, 3-4 weeks ago. And we were told, according to the website, that at one point Moxley's deal actually expired, and he worked on a handshake agreement until they finalized the new deal. But there was never any concern internally that he might be looking to go elsewhere. This is good news for AEW. Maybe they were holding on to this in their back pocket for a rainy day. Well, guess what? It's been raining all week long. all anybody's been talking about is the drama behind the scenes in AEW. That's been the story now for weeks, including this week. So now they have something positive they can report, and they can put some good news out there and hope that it brings them good fortune in the future. Moxley is the ace of AEW. I've been calling him the ace because that's what he is. He's the ace. He's the MVP, whatever expression you want to use. He is one of their most valuable players in every sense of the word. And of course, he's their world champion. So of course, Tony Khan is going to want to lock him down long term. Jon Moxley has never given any indication that he is unhappy with his position in AEW or that he is dying to go back to WWE. And he made that very clear by signing this extension. So there will be no Shield reunion in the near future. Anybody who is hoping for a Shield reunion, you can forget about that. Jon Moxley is all elite for the foreseeable future. So that is good news for AEW. Now we turn to SmackDown. SmackDown opened with Triple H already in the ring, and his King of Kings theme was playing. If you were wondering, new season, they do these season premieres every year. It's just a gimmick. I mean, there's nothing new about it. I mean, it's a show that runs 51 or 52 weeks out of I think they get 1 week off of the holidays. So 51 weeks a year. The whole idea of a season premiere is that you have an off season. WWE has no off season. But they call it the season premiere. And there were some people wondering if maybe there would be a new look to the show or the set might be different. We've been hearing about revamped designs for the championships. Maybe we'd have some new championship belts that would be unveiled. There was nothing. The only thing new about tonight was the announce team. Otherwise, everything else looked exactly the same. And I think we are going to have some new title belt designs, but we didn't get any of them tonight. But Triple H was in the ring and he had a microphone with a giant QR code on the side of it, pointed towards the hard cam. You couldn't miss it. And he said, "There will come a time where you believe that everything is finished, but that is the beginning." He said, "Welcome to Fox. Welcome to the season premiere of Friday Night SmackDown." And at that point, Triple H disappeared and the Bloodline came to the ring. If you were wondering what happened to Triple H, I wanted to see more of Triple H. You won't have to wait very long. He's going to be on Raw Monday night. Triple H will be doing his annual DX reunion with all of his friends on Raw in Brooklyn this Monday. But let's talk about this QR code. The QR code takes you to a 15-second video clip showing the three little pigs and the big bad wolf. We've seen them in some recent videos, right? We see glimpses of them again. Only this time in this video, we hear a voice, a very creepy voice in the background saying, "Let me in, let me in, let me in," over and over and over again. It gets faster and faster and faster. "Let me in, let me in, let me in." So they're just beating you over the head with it now, right? But what that tells you is that not only is Bray Wyatt coming back, "Let me in," that's the Fiend. Right? Isn't that the Fiend, or was Bray doing that before? It's been so long since we've seen the original Bray Wyatt character. I don't even remember if he used to say "let me in." I just assumed that was a Fiend thing, but my God, it's been so long. But all indications are that it is going to be the Fiend. And I'm still hoping that even if it's the Fiend, there'll be something different about it. It's not just a return to the exact thing he was doing before. But again, we won't have to wait very long. We're going to have some kind of payoff to this, it looks like, tomorrow night at Extreme Rules. But if you were still on the fence about whether or not it was a Bray Wyatt thing or not, well, you don't need to wonder anymore. You're going to have a lot of very upset, very disappointed people if it turns out to be anybody else. So that's the White Rabbit update. Now, Roman Reigns was in the ring with all of his bloodline brethren, and he took the microphone. He wanted the crowd in Worcester to acknowledge him. He was interrupted not long after that by Logan Paul's music. And Logan Paul is "let me in" Bray's catchphrase. It always was a Bray thing. See, for some reason, I was associating it just with the feed. And I had briefly forgotten that "let me in" was always a Bray Wyatt thing. But it just goes to show you how long it's been since we've seen old school Bray Wyatt. Yeah, "we're here." See, I thought it was like "we're here." All right, I guess "let me in" is a Bray thing, but it still looks like it's going to be the Fiend. So Logan Paul came out, and he got loud chants of Logan sucks. And I don't doubt that there were people chanting Logan sucks in the building, but honestly, the majority of this reaction sounded very piped into me. This sounded like piped in crowd chants. There's just a certain way that it sounds to my ear, where I think I can usually do a pretty good job of telling when things are being piped in and when they're not. And it sounded like they were encouraging the Logan sucks chants. And I think they were, because it played into the substance of the promo. So we have these chants of Logan sucks. And that leads to Roman Reigns telling him not to worry. They did the same thing to me early in my career. And basically, look at me now. I'm the greatest of all time. And he said, we could teach you a few things. And he handed the microphone to Paul Heyman. And he told the wise man to smarten this boy up. And so this was Paul Heyman's moment to take over here. And he says, he can remember Roman Reigns asking the question, who the hell is Logan Paul? He didn't even know who the guy was. Heyman said that it hit him in the head, just like Anderson Silva is going to hit Jake Paul in the head when his brother fights Anderson Silva. Said Logan is this generation's version of Mr. T and Cyndi Lauper. He said Logan is the celebrity they bring in to put more eyeballs on the product. They were wondering which pseudo-famous male Kardashian would be here next to get smashed by Roman Reigns. First, they thought about Jordan Peterson, but he wouldn't fight Roman. Maybe his fellow Hebrew Ben Shapiro. He name-dropped Ben Shapiro on this show. He said Ben Shapiro, he would love to debate him, but Shapiro also would not fight Roman Reigns. He mentioned Andrew Tate, who doesn't even deserve a mention. And again, he's mentioning some of these names, and the reaction from the crowd is very tepid. These are not names that are getting big reactions here from this crowd when he mentions them. He said at the end of the day, they settled for Logan Paul. He said Jake Paul's schmucky brother. He said he hopes that they put the catheter and the breathing tube in the right holes when Roman puts him in the hospital. Logan said that Heyman really is the wise man, and he asked Paul Heyman if he was referring to Roman Reigns or Jey Uso when he uses the name Tribal Chief and head of the table. And so when he says that, Jey Uso does not like that very much at all. Takes great offense to this. He starts barking at Logan. He's threatening to slap him. Jimmy Uso is holding his brother back. Reigns shoots a look over at Jey Uso. All he has to do is look over at his cousin. And Jey has this like sheepish look on his face, like a parent scolding their child. He kind of looks down, puts his head down. And Roman goes and stands in front of Jey, and he's staring at him. And now Sami Zayn walks over, and he stands in between the two of them. And he tries to play peacemaker. He tells Roman that he is the head of, not Sami, but Roman. Roman, you are the head of the table. You are the tribal chief. He said nobody is questioning that. Nobody is challenging that. He said Jey did nothing wrong. He's actually trying to defend Jey Uso, who hates his guts. He's telling Roman Reigns Jey Uso didn't do anything wrong. He said the only one who did anything wrong was Logan Paul. Said that, you know how we have our catchphrase, you the twos and we the ones? He called Logan the biggest two of them all. That's what you are. You are a giant number two. And he added that Logan would become a number 2 stain on the bottom of Roman's shoe after Crown Jewel. Zayn said the bloodline would be more aligned than ever. He did the, because we the ones, he did the whole catchphrase. Roman nodded, and he put his arm around Jey. Sami broke Roman, by the way, when he made the comment about Logan being a giant number 2. So Sami and Jey were the only two good things about this segment. This was a rare miss for Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, even if you think he's very repetitive sometimes with what he says, which he can be, his delivery and just, he's usually spot on, right? There are a few people who can do what he does. Heyman is usually one of the shining beacons on this show when it comes to these Bloodline promo segments. I thought this was a rare miss. That dialogue I thought sucked. I thought that dialogue was terrible. It didn't seem to connect with the crowd. I want to know who thought mentioning Ben Shapiro, that his name would be big enough for this audience, that more than half the crowd would even know who he was, because it didn't seem like they did. And I'm not shocked by that. I don't know why they thought that it would get some kind of a big reaction. They don't put names like that into promo expecting them to get dead silence. They mention these names because they want to get a rise out of people, either a positive reaction, a negative reaction. Again, most of these names, even the other ones, didn't get much of a reaction. But who's the brainchild? Maybe Heyman, who thought that, oh, I know, we'll name drop Ben Shapiro. We'll name drop some, political commentator here in this promo, and we'll talk about him as if anybody in this audience is going to give a shit, which they did not. They were just trying to mention a bunch of names, I guess, that have been in the news. I mean, dare I ask even why Ben Shapiro has been in the news? I don't want to know. I don't care. But I thought this entire segment, honestly, was very weak. Sammy and Jay were the only things that really kept my interest in this entire segment. And you guys know how big of a fan I've been for many weeks now of these bloodline segments and the interactions between them. I thought that segment a few weeks ago with the t-shirt that Roman gave Sammy was one of the best all year. This was not good. I didn't like this. And I will also say this. We are 24 hours away from Extreme Rules. We have a pay-per-view tomorrow night. Roman Reigns and Logan Paul are wrestling on the next pay-per-view. They are wrestling on November 5th in Saudi Arabia. We have a pay-per-view in Philadelphia tomorrow night. Roman Reigns and Logan Paul are not even on the card. Why did this segment have to take place tonight? Why? Because it's the season premiere? There was nothing else they could put or promote for this show that they thought could fill the void? This would have been more appropriate to do next week when Extreme Rules is in the rearview mirror. Then you can focus on this. This is your main event for that show. It was very weird that you are 24 hours away from a pay-per-view and are dedicating your entire opening segment of this show to build a main event for another show. And neither one of these guys are even on the pay-per-view tomorrow. I thought it felt very strange to me when this was over. As far as Logan Paul and as far as the, reaction that Logan Paul got, I'm not convinced that the majority of those chants that you heard were not piped in. But even if they were, look, he was going to get booed anyway. All right. Even if I'm right, and a lot of that was piped in, we knew he was going to come out there and get booed. And to borrow a phrase that Becky Lynch used when she talked about Triple H talking to her about, it feels like we're swimming upstream, pushing you as a heel. I think you should be a babyface. Same way I feel about Logan Paul. They continue to swim upstream when it comes to positioning Logan Paul as the babyface. Now, it could work depending on who he is in the ring with. We saw that at SummerSlam. When it was him against The Miz, he got a pretty good babyface reaction. He went out there, he had a hell of a match. So it's not that it can't work with the right opponent. Yes, it can work. But I feel like they're swimming upstream by positioning this guy as anything but a hateable heel on these shows. I know why they're doing this. I know why they want him to be a babyface right now. Maybe he's the one who wants to be a babyface. He doesn't want to be the bad guy. But at some point, he's going to have to be. And I think once they embrace that, I think that's really when he'll come into himself. He didn't do much in this segment. Logan Paul was basically an afterthought. That's why I thought this segment was a complete letdown. You promote this face-to-face. Nothing happened. I mean, they didn't even have to fly him out to the show. If this was all he was going to do, there was no physicality. It wasn't as if he cut this great promo and got off a whole bunch of great lines. He didn't really have a whole lot to say. But Bloodline was out there. One of the members of the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, he stayed out there for the very next match, which was Solo Sikoa taking on Ricochet. Sikoa jumped Ricochet before the match even started, had the early advantage. Ricochet recovered, hit a dive to the floor. This frustrated Solo. We've seen this in his matches. He gets very frustrated. So he goes to grab a chair and referee took the chair away. Sikoa briefly took over. Ricochet, though, fought back. He went for a springboard move of some kind. He was on the apron. He went for this springboard move, right? So he popped up into the air. Solo Sikoa caught him with a right hand. He punched this guy, and Ricochet took this completely ludicrous bump where, to sell the shot, on the way, he basically threw his body kind of upward. He hit the ropes on the way down, but the way he landed neck first on the apron. And then finally it went splat on the floor. It looked great, but it was a completely ridiculous bump. He's lucky he did not break his neck on the way down. Back from the break, Sikoa was firmly in control until Ricochet fought back. He caught Sikoa with a Hurricane Rana and a jumping knee strike. Ricochet went for the 450 splash, but when he came down, Solo caught him, and he hit the spinning Solo Uranage for the win. So Solo stays strong. Solo's always strong. We know that. But Solo stays strong, and he didn't even need Sami Zayn's help, which was good. He shouldn't need anybody's help to win his matches. Now, the Bloodline was in the back watching this match from their locker room. Sami Zayn was sitting on a couch with both Usos. And Roman Reigns was sitting in his own chair. He was kind of looking off into the distance. He was looking straight ahead. Sami was bragging about mentoring Sikoa. He was so happy to see Solo get a big win. He talked about mentoring him, and Jey Uso lost his cool, started yelling at Sami, telling him, mentoring, he's our brother. He's my brother. Right? He's going off on Sami, and Sami's calling him a hothead, and Jey freaked out at that. So Roman Reigns said, you know what? He looked at Jey, he goes, you are a hothead. It's not wrong. You've always been a hothead. He goes, you've always been the Bloodline's problem. Now, Sami, he's your problem. And there was everyone was looking around very awkwardly. Sami didn't know how to react. He was kind of reluctant. He was like, oh, okay. So this was just another chapter in the story as the story rolls along. I love these backstage segments. See, this segment was good. I like these little interactions between them like this. So the backstage stuff, I think, has been great. Speaking of which, we got another one right after this. It showed Sami and the Usos. They had left the Bloodline locker room. They were walking down the hallway. Sami was apologizing for what just happened. New Day, they ran into the New Day. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, who made fun of Jey Uso for going from main event Jey to being the guy who has to answer to Sami Zayn. And Sami got angry, and he said, you know what? Why don't you go find somebody and you'll take us on in a 6-man tag team match tonight? And the New Day said, well, people actually like us. It won't be very hard for us to find a partner. And they went off. Up next, we had Hit Row on their way to the ring for what was supposed to be a tag team match against who? We'll never know. They didn't tell us. Because when they hit the ring, they were doing their poses. They were attacked by 3 men wearing lucha masks. This was no mystery, though, for anyone who watches NXT. You watch NXT every single week. As soon as they hit the ring, even if you didn't see the news that leaked earlier today on all the wrestling sites and on social media, this should not have been a surprise. This was no mystery. Unless, of course, your name was Wade Barrett. Now, Wade Barrett has been doing commentary on NXT now for how long? How many matches? How many segments with Legado del Fantasma has he called? And he had to pretend at first like he wasn't sure who these people are until they took their masks off. Wade Barrett apparently had no idea. We're supposed to believe had no idea who these people were. But it was indeed Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Cruz del Toro. Legado del Fantasma has arrived on SmackDown, and they did not come alone. No one should ever come alone. And Legado del Fantasma certainly does not come alone. That's right. So, Elektra Lopez has been part of Legado del Fantasma on NXT. Elektra Lopez was originally, reportedly, supposed to join them. It was going to be all the members of Legado del Fantasma were being called up to the main roster. Nick Grosso, thank you for the 1999 Super Chat. Always good to hear Bushwhacker Solomonster interrupting me here on these streams. I sound like, why do I sound like Tom Hanks from the, oh God, what was the movie? Remember in the movie he goes, "Fire! I've created fire! Fire!" With Wilson the volleyball. Castaway. Why do I sound like Tom Hanks from Castaway? Anyway, Elektra Lopez was not with Legado del Fantasma. This was a late change. We read about this earlier this afternoon. She was earmarked for this. There was a late change. She has been replaced. Legado del Fantasma has a new member. It is no longer Elektra Lopez. Now it is Zelina Vega, who we have not seen in months. She was out with an injury. She's now a blonde. It's been a long time since we've seen her. She's been gone for so long, she went from being a brunette? Brunette to a blonde. So Zelina Vega now is the newest member of Legado del Fantasma. All three men beat the hell out of Top Dollar and Ashanti the Adonis. Zelina came off the top rope and took B-Fab over with a Hurricane Rana. Zelina then took the microphone and said that she's back, and she did not come alone. All three men then removed their masks to reveal themselves. Escobar said, "We are Legado del Fantasma, and SmackDown is ours." Long overdue. Finally, Santos Escobar has made his way to the WWE main roster. I know I've mentioned this before. When he was King Cuerno on Lucha Underground, there were reports even back then. He was trying to get out of his contract and they wouldn't let him out. And a lot of people had that issue at the time. And he wanted out. They said no. They had these ridiculous 7-year or 7-season contracts, but then the show was in limbo and people were just sort of held hostage by these contracts that they signed. He's wanted to come to WWE for years, and they had interest in him. But think about how far back that goes. Lucha Underground, we're going back, 4 years now? Probably 4 or 5 years. So they've had their eye on him. He's had his eye on them. Now, of course, in recent years, he's been with them. He's been in developmental. But this moment here for him has been a very long time in the making. And he is somebody who is not only great in the ring, but he can cut promos too. And you don't have the issue with him. I think people think, oh, they got three luchadors, or we have a new luchador star, and so is he going to struggle on the microphone the way that some others have? He doesn't have that issue. He is fluent in English. So there is no, you can't say, well, the accent or English isn't his first language. It's not going to be an issue for him. This guy is the complete package. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's got the ability in the ring. He can talk on the mic. He's got a certain presence about him. He's got these men now surrounding him. He's got his own little posse, his own little family here. They've got Zelina now. He's in a position, I think, to do very well for himself here on this SmackDown brand. And I'll tell you what, I love replacing Elektra Lopez with Zelina Vega. One of the things that I said about Hit Row and Legado del Fantasma is that if they're going to be called up, if Triple H is going to bring them up, and they're going to put them in the ring, B-Fab is not ready to be in the ring. Elektra Lopez is not ready to be in the ring. And it's pretty clear they're going to want B-Fab in the ring. Maybe they're going to do some 6-person tags. They're going to want her in the ring, and Vega is a definite upgrade from Elektra Lopez. Elektra Lopez would do well to stay put where she is in NXT and get more reps down there and learn and grow. She is not ready to be in the ring on main roster television. And so I like this move. I think Vega also, it's not just the in-ring stuff. We don't know exactly how much in-ring Vega is going to be doing, but in the role that she's in now, she's going to be managing Legado del Fantasma. We've seen her do this before. She's managed a whole bunch of people. But the best run she's had so far in WWE is not the Queen's Crown. It's not going after the women's tag team titles. It was her managing Andrade Cien Almas in NXT. They made a great combo together. So if she's going to be doing that with Legado del Fantasma now on the main roster, I think that's perfect. I think it's the perfect role for her. I think she's better in that spot than Elektra Lopez would be. And so I'm very happy to see them finally make their way up to the main roster. And now we have a whole bunch of groups. Think about all the factions now. It's going to be gang warfare on SmackDown. I mean, if you thought the NXT parking lot was dangerous, wait until you see the fucking SmackDown parking lot with these guys running around. How many times did we see them pop up in the parking lot kidnapping people? But now we've got the Bloodline, we've got Legado del Fantasma, we've got Imperium, we've got Hit Row, we've got the Brawling Brutes. I mean, you've got factions up the ass here now on SmackDown. You've got so many different groups here on this show. I'll tell you what, I mentioned Hit Row. I guess they're more of a tag team. I think Hit Row needs a third member, by the way. I think I figured out one of the things missing from Hit Row. It's Swerve, but they need a third member. I think they do, and I don't know offhand who that person would be, but I think they need a third member. But what I was going to say is, as I was reading off these factions just now, we saw him in the main event tonight, Sheamus. I'd love to see Sheamus and Santos Escobar in a feud. So maybe we get the Brawling Brutes and Legado feuding at some point once this war is over with Imperium. Give me Sheamus and Santos. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Raquel Rodriguez got a new partner, out with Aaliyah and in with Shotzi Blackheart, at least for one night. They were a tag team tonight. They took on Sonya Deville and Xia Li. They beat Sonya and Xia very quickly, about 2 minutes, with Raquel pinning Sonya after hitting her Tejana bomb. You know, this is the problem with having no real division when it comes to the women's tag teams. They feel compelled to put these makeshift teams together. This is now the second team. And again, we have to see. This is only week one that they were together. Maybe it was a one-shot. I don't know if this is going to be the new team now with her and Shotzi, but if it is, all she did was trade one partner for another. She went from tagging with Aaliyah to now tagging with Shotzi. I don't see Raquel as a tag team wrestler. I think that she could be very successful in a singles role. So I don't know why they feel compelled to keep shoehorning her into these makeshift teams, but this is the problem, right? They feel like, well, we have women's tag team titles, and so we have to put together some women's tag teams. I don't think Raquel should be in a tag team, though. I don't think she should be stuck in these, this constant sort of revolving door of tag teams. The announce team hyped up the Intercontinental Championship match later tonight by showing tweets from various former Intercontinental champions like Bret Hart, like Shawn Michaels, like Kurt Angle, like The Miz, like the Honky Tonk Man. I think Triple H might have been one of them as well. Up next, we had Karrion Kross and Scarlett make their way to the ring. They did their whole entrance in black and white, got into the ring, and the screen changed back to color. All of a sudden, Drew McIntyre pops up in the background behind Karrion Kross. And Kross can hear the crowd reaction, so he gets that look on his face like, oh, what's going on here? And then he realizes that McIntyre is behind him because McIntyre attacks him. And he attaches a leather strap to Kross's wrist and to his own wrist. Now, security run out to the ring, and they get McIntyre out of the ring, but he fights them off. Kross, while standing on the floor, he yanked on the strap and pulled McIntyre into the ring post. And he did that a couple of more times. He then began to whip Drew across the back very hard with the leather strap, and he beat on this guy. He whipped him across the back several times. The camera got a close-up shot of the welts forming on his back. This guy had welts all over his back not that long ago. Remember, there was a chair shot attack before Clash at the Castle where Roman Reigns I think maybe the whole bloodline, but it was Roman Reigns just wailing away on him with chair shots. And he took that picture and put it up on his Twitter when he went to the locker room, and he had fucking cuts and bruises and welts all over his back. And so it all healed up just in time now for him to get strapped numerous times across the back. And after Kross and Scarlett left, McIntyre pulled himself back up to his feet. I thought this was a very effective segment. It was very simple stuff, but it was a very effective segment. The best part, no fireballs. Hey, George Mazur, thank you for the 1999. Bushwhacker Solomonster, thanks you. We'll never get tired of me acting like an absolute jackass in some of these super chats. But people find it funny. What can I say? But I thought it was a very effective segment. Very simple stuff, but yeah, it's one of the matches I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. Going to be a very big test for Karrion Kross. Easily the biggest match of his career. We got a Viking Raiders video. It was never mentioned that it was the Viking Raiders, and we never saw their faces. But what we did see looked like their shields. It looked like two shields. And we had a narration from one of them. It might have been Eric doing the narration. Eric is the one who's out with the foot injury. This is why we haven't seen them in weeks. I don't know how serious the injury is, but if they're showing this video, if this is the first of many vignettes that they're going to be showing, hyping their return, he can't be too far away. I would imagine he's either already cleared or they expect him to be cleared in the next few weeks. So we saw their shields. We heard a voiceover say, only the foolish conflate absence with weakness, and that they have been watching and growing stronger. And then we heard the voice of what clearly was Sarah Logan narrating the end of the segment, warning that Valhalla awaits. And that was it. So I would expect we'll see this or similar segments for several weeks building to their return. It looks like Sarah Logan. Now, Sarah Logan was used in a previous segment. She has yet to appear with them on camera in the actual arena. So even though her voice was used here, this doesn't necessarily mean that she's back with them, but I have a feeling she's back with them. And I would expect her to be with them the next time we see them on TV. We had the Usos and Sami Zayn taking on the New Day and their mystery partner. Who is their mystery partner? Who? Braun Strowman, that's who. The same Braun Strowman who nearly killed Xavier Woods by tricking him this past week into the Packy One Chip Challenge, which is up on the Up Up Down Down YouTube channel right now. If you want to watch 15 minutes of two people looking like they have been the most miserable they've been in their entire lives, he tricked Xavier Woods and Liv Morgan into taking the Packy One Chip Challenge. And they blame Braun for conning them into it. Apparently, Xavier has forgiven him because they were tag team partners tonight here on this show. The Usos were mad at Sami when Strowman came out because this match was his idea. He's the one who mouthed off and said, why don't you go find a partner and we'll do a 6-man tag. This is all Sami's fault. So Jey Uso was furious at Sami. He kept yelling at him. New Day took advantage and dumped the Usos to the floor. They followed that up with a double suicide dive. Zayn tried to help up the Usos, and Jey yelled at him again. During the break, Sami caused a distraction so that Jey could interfere. Heels took over. They were isolating Kofi Kingston in their corner. Fans broke into a loud, "We want Braun" chant. Guy's over. The guy is over. Jey tagged himself into the match. He slapped Zayn when he tagged in. He slapped him hard when he did it. Jimmy then tagged Zayn back in the ring a short time later. Sami and Jey, they briefly worked together, but then they started arguing again. Kingston took advantage. Strowman got the hot tag. He cleared the ring. He splashed Jimmy in the corner. Strowman followed that with a choke slam to Jimmy. So outside the ring, the camera shows Jey and Sami again arguing. This is all they've been doing the entire match, is arguing. Braun is in the ring and he looks out and he sees this. So he leaves the ring and he, the little, the Strowman Express, the Strowman Express. So he exits the ring and he starts to circle the ring and he shoulder tackles both guys. And Jey Uso flies into Michael Cole and knocks Michael Cole backwards into the barricade, and he kind of slowly falls down to the ground. He was commentating the entire time. I forgot what he was saying. It was like, "Oh my God," or whatever it was. But he knocked down Michael Cole, and it did not look like that was supposed to happen, but Cole sold it well. Woods and Kingston then hit the backbreaker double foot stomp combo on Jimmy in the ring for the win, and they pinned Jimmy Uso to win the match. So the Usos, it would appear, are going to be defending the tag team titles soon enough against the New Day. Now, there's a match that we've never seen before, the Usos and the New Day. Can't wait to see that. No, actually, I'm sure it's going to be a great match. I don't say that in a way where, they had crappy matches. It's just that, we're back to the Usos and seemingly going to be back to the Usos and the New Day again. But here's the thing that I did not like about this. And the match itself was actually fine. I thought the match was good. But what I did not like about this, I'm not a fan of either Uso being pinned. Even if it's a trios match, and they did it because they wanted to set the New Day up as future contenders for the tag team titles. I don't like that because when the day comes that they do finally drop those belts, and it's going to be 400 or 500 something days, I think, before they finally drop those belts, it should be at WrestleMania. It should be at WrestleMania against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. When they drop those tag team titles, that pinfall is going, which should be Sami Zayn pinning Jey Uso. That pinfall is going to be a very big deal. And I hate seeing it before then. But it did fit the story of the match. The bickering between Jey and Sami is what led to the loss. Jimmy, therefore, had to be the one to take the losing fall, not Sami. Although there were different ways they could have done it, where Sami is arguing with Jey. Sami then maybe, he's distracted. He ends up getting pinned. They didn't do it that way. I'm just saying I would rather not see the Usos at this point. Just like Roman Reigns. If Roman Reigns was in a Survivor Series match, if Roman Reigns was in some kind of a 6-man tag or an 8-man tag, I would not want to see him be pinned, even though he would not lose his titles. Roman Reigns has not been pinned at all since December of 2019. 3 years. So that would be completely idiotic to pin him. But again, it fit the story that they were trying to tell here in this match. The announcers said that Roman is not going to be very happy about this. One thing I will say, I said it before when the crowd was chanting, you can't deny the fact that Braun Strowman, with these live crowds, Braun Strowman is over big time. He's over big time. It's amazing what all that time off can do for a person. Not just for the crowd reactions, but even physically. The guy is in the best shape of his entire life. I've never seen him so lean and cut. It's like the new and improved Braun Strowman. And what they're doing with him so far is they're picking their spots. They're having him go out there. They're having him do power spots and just fucking destroy people. And that's what people want to see. That's the best way to use Braun Strowman. We still haven't heard him cut a real promo, outside of one backstage segment where they caught up with him before he left. There's still a lot we haven't seen him do yet. But people are into it. He's definitely one of the more over baby faces in the entire company. Speaking of over baby faces in the company, we all had to know that it was coming. We had to know. It was only a matter of time. They've been teasing it and teasing it and teasing it, and it finally happened tonight. It was very quick. It was very brief. But I also think part of it is they just wanted to kind of rip the Band-Aid off and get this over with, and they realized this was a mistake. This never should have happened. We want people to forget this Max Dupree stuff as quickly as possible. So let's not dwell on it. Let's not do anything in the ring. Let's not drag this out and have a long segment. Let's just do it, get it over with, and this guy can finally move on. And that is what they did tonight. We cut to the back, and we see Max Dupree has laid out the maximum male mid-carders. And his sister, Maxine, is watching this, and Maxine tries to get him to stop and says, Max, Max, and he cuts her off. And he says to her, that's not my name. He goes, my name is L.A. Knight. Yeah! And he walks off. He's back. L.A. Knight is back. Finally. L.A. Knight never should have been gone to begin with. It was a mistake from the very beginning. I said it the very first time they debuted the stupid gimmick. I did a whole rant on the show, and I said, what are they doing? What is Vince McMahon thinking? This is how they're going to use L.A. Knight? Same thing with the whole Adam Cole thing and the idea that Adam Cole, one of the ideas that was floated for Adam Cole, it was not a confirmed idea where they were absolutely going to do it, but the idea of using Adam Cole on the main roster as a manager for Keith Lee, it would not have lasted. He would have ended up right back as Adam Cole. Why go through all of the bullshit and all of the nonsense just to get to exactly the same point you would have been in anyway? It's over. It's done. It doesn't matter. This is all a fever dream. It's done. It never happened. Get the neuralizer. Was that what that thing was called from Men in Black, right? Boom. Nobody is going to ever remember this. This is now banish from your minds. LA Knight is back. He is on SmackDown. It looks like he'll be a babyface. This guy can be a babyface or a heel. Plug him in somewhere. Let's see what he can do. Now, under Triple H, he'll finally have an opportunity to show what he can do on the main roster. And if he can stay healthy, I think the sky's the limit for him. Could he be a future world champion in this company? Absolutely. Without question. Now, before the main event, there was someone in a White Rabbit costume sitting in the front row behind Michael Cole and Wade Barrett as they were throwing it to highlights of the first match with Sheamus and Walter from Clash at the Castle. Tonight was round 2. Sheamus challenging Walter for the Intercontinental Championship. Samantha Irvin did the ring introductions with them in the ring. She did a hell of a job. I gotta say, seriously, shout out to her. I think that she is really good. I love her enthusiasm. I love the way she even does the accent when she's introducing the members of Imperium, and she's introducing him as GUNTHER. I think she does a tremendous job. I just wanted to shout her out for that. So Sheamus was manhandling Walter early and threw him into the barricade before they cut to commercial 20 seconds into this match. And this is a WWE formula we see a lot of on TV. The match begins, somebody gets the upper hand, 15, 20, 25 seconds later, can he maintain? And then they cut to the break. Or what's going to happen next? And they cut to a break. Right? That's their formula. That's just what they do. So 20 seconds in, we go to a commercial break. They come back, and Walter's mouth was bloody. Sheamus's chest was all cut up and bloody, but he was in control. And I'm looking at this, and I'm going, we missed all the good stuff. They went to commercial. They come back. We've got blood on his chest. We've got blood in his mouth. Like, what the fuck did we miss? I feel like we missed the most important parts of this match. So Walter blocked the 10 beats from the Bowerin attempt. Sheamus came out onto the apron with him. Walter shoved him backwards into the ring post and then knocked him to the floor. Back inside, they traded strikes before Walter got a sleeper hold applied and got on his back. Sheamus, though, powered up to his feet anyway, and they traded more strikes. Sheamus with punches, Walter with chops. Walter got off a German suplex before they cut to another commercial break. This is one of the unfortunate pitfalls of doing matches on television, long matches on television, is that you might have 2-3 different commercial breaks that you have to insert. And, it slows things down, but you also potentially miss some of the really important stuff. They come back. Walter was punishing him some more. Sheamus, though, fought back. Crowd was into it. He elbowed his way out of another sleeper. His chest looked awful from all of the chops. It looked like a series of stab wounds is the best way I can describe it. It looked like a series of like little stab wounds all over his chest, as opposed to just like one long, scar or anything like that. It was bizarre. And it looked very painful. Sheamus got him on the apron. He delivered the 10 beats to the chest, first from the top rope. Then Walter fell down, leaning back on the middle rope. He did it again. 10 more on the middle rope. Walter falls down to the bottom rope. 10 more on the bottom rope. I like that. That was unique. I've not seen that. I've not seen Sheamus do that before. Sheamus got him up on his shoulders. He climbed to the middle rope and delivered white noise. Covered for 3, but Walter got a shoulder up at 2.5. Big reaction for that. While the announcers put over that Sheamus was trying to win the one championship that has eluded him his entire career. We'll pretend the Universal title doesn't exist. Sheamus has never been an Intercontinental champion before. So they were really hammering home that story on commentary. Walter got a huge running drop kick, and then he hit the power bomb, but Sheamus kicked out, and the crowd reacted big because they know that Walter has been finishing people off with that move. Sheamus kicked out, and the place went crazy for it. At that point, Walter climbed to the top rope. He hit a big splash right across Sheamus's back. He had him laid out on his belly, so he splashed him across the back. He rolled him over. He covered him, tried to go for the win. Sheamus kicked out. So Walter is readying for a lariat. He's waiting for Sheamus to get back up to his feet. Finally, he does. And Walter rears off, and he goes for the clothesline. Sheamus kicks the arm, hits the Irish curse backbreaker across the knee. And then he applies the Irish cloverleaf. And he's got this thing locked on pretty fucking tight, right? I mean, this looked great. This was like the way Chris Jericho used to do the Lion Tamer in WCW. And we've seen him do it a few times even in AEW as well. So he had this thing locked on tight. Walter was trying to reach for the bottom rope. When he did the fake tap out, he tapped the mat twice. And everybody in the building and Sheamus, they thought that he had tapped out. Usually it's 3 or more times. People usually furiously tap. I don't know if there's a hard and fast number to it necessarily, but typically you see a person tapping out 3, 4, 5 times. Walter did basically like a double tap. And, he was kind of reaching for the ropes, but he tapped. I could see where people would look at that and go, oh, he tapped out. That's what everybody thought, right? But he was reaching for the bottom rope, and eventually he did get to the bottom rope. Now, I read it as a fake tap out, right? That's how I read it. I don't think he lost himself in the moment. He's a pro. He knows what he's doing. It's possible maybe that was not the intended spot, and maybe he did botch it. I didn't see it that way. That's not how I read that. Sheamus in the crowd thought that he had the match won. Jessica Carr told him, no, no, no. And she was doing all these things with her hands like, no, it wasn't a tap out. Even if it was a botch, let's say for a second that it was, and I don't think it was, but let's say that it was a botch. I actually like it because I think it enhances the story now. When you eventually run this thing back for a third time, and I would not do that until WrestleMania. When you run this thing back for a third time, you've got this built-in excuse now for why Sheamus feels he deserves another shot. The guy tapped out, right? They can cut back and show footage of him tapping out the 2 times and say, look, you tapped out. Walter could say, no, that's not what that was. I was not tapping out. But even if it was a fuck-up on their part, you can work that into the story because this is not the last time we're going to see these two in the ring together. So I actually think they could use it to their advantage. At that point, Ludwig Kaiser, Giovanni Vinci, they run down to the ring to cheer on Walter. Ridge Holland and Butch, though, they're right there to fight them off. Sheamus got Walter down, and he went to the corner. Clearly, he was getting ready to set up for the brogue kick. But with the referee distracted, Kaiser slipped Walter a shillelagh. Because remember, tomorrow night, these 6 guys are going to be in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. And there's going to be shillelaghs all over the place. Maybe we'll even get a cameo from Fit Finlay on the show. So Kaiser slips him a shillelagh. Sheamus doesn't see this. The referee doesn't see this. He's getting ready for the brogue kick, and he goes for it once Walter gets to his feet. But Walter has the shillelagh, and he whacks him with it, clobbers him, and he pins Sheamus to retain the IC title. Not as great as their first match. The commercial breaks hurt it. The finish was overbooked for sure. But they still had another banger, as Sheamus would say, right? That banger after banger after banger, that's what this was. I thought this was excellent stuff from 2 of the very best in the world right now. I could watch these 2 in the ring all day long. I have loved their matches so far. It's some of my favorite matches of the year. And I love the fact that they did not do a title change. Now, I didn't think they would when I did my predictions for the pay-per-view last week. I said my prediction for the 6-man tag tomorrow night was based on the idea that Walter would retain on this show. I didn't think they were going to do the title change, but I couldn't be sure. It's the season premiere, right? Maybe they want to do something big for the season premiere. You do a title change. I'm glad that they didn't. I'm very happy that they did not. Walter should not lose a single match until WrestleMania. Every match that he has from now until WrestleMania, at least on the single side, he should not lose. And they're going to run this back at WrestleMania. That's when you do the title change. Walter suffers his first loss to Sheamus. Sheamus wins the Intercontinental Championship, and he does it in front of a big crowd at WrestleMania. He had a big crowd at Clash at the Castle, but he couldn't get the job done. Tonight, he had a shot. It got taken away from him. He got screwed. Third time, he will not get screwed. Third time, the biggest show of the year, the biggest stage of all. He finally wins the one title that has eluded him his entire career. The story writes itself. It is perfect. That is how you book a Sheamus Intercontinental Championship win. Again, the tap out spot here in this match could easily be weaved into the story. Walter could turn around now and say, look, I've beaten you twice. Sheamus could point out and say, look, I deserve a rematch. Walter can go, no, I've beaten you twice. I'm moving on. You're going to have to prove to me. You're going to have to earn it if you want another shot at this Intercontinental title. And so begins Sheamus' story arc heading into WrestleMania next year. He's got to work his way back up towards an Intercontinental Championship match. That is the way that you book this. I thought that this was a good show tonight. I enjoyed this show on the whole. We had a nice, violent main event. We had the official return of LA Knight, which I'm very happy to see, and the debut of Legado del Fantasma with Zelina Vega. I like that combo. Honestly, the Roman Reigns Logan Paul stuff was one of the only misses on the show tonight. I did not like that segment, but I thought the rest of this was actually very good. The poll is up right now on Twitter at Solomonster, and the vast majority of people seem to agree with that sentiment. 73.4% thumbs up for tonight's show, about 16% thumbs in the middle, and 10% thumbs down for SmackDown. Smacketh down at Solomonster on Twitter, please. Please go there and vote. Now let's talk about Extreme Rules. We have a pay-per-view tomorrow night in the birthplace of Extreme. They're going to be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They will not be on the corner of Swanson and Richter, right? Are those the cross streets? I think they're at the Wells Fargo Center, I believe. It's a little bit bigger than the bingo halls that ECW used to run at there. It's a very lean card. I like it. 6 matches. They didn't feel the need to add matches. They still could, I guess. I mean, they could make the announcement on, at 5:00 tomorrow afternoon that they're adding a kickoff match. But we've got 6 matches on the show tomorrow night, which I think is the perfect length here for one of these B-level shows. Let's run through the cards and my predictions real quick. We have the Brawling Brutes against Imperium in a Donnybrook match. I assume this is going to be Tornado style. I think this is going to be pure chaos. I said last week, Walter is going to retain his Intercontinental title on SmackDown tonight, and that's going to set up the Brawling Brutes to come right back and win at the pay-per-view, and that's what I think is going to happen. I think Sheamus' team wins. We have Bayley challenging for the Raw Women's Championship against Bianca Belair. This is the one that I am least confident about. I picked Bayley to win the title with some help from Damage Control. And then Bianca can chase to get the belt back. I'm feeling less confident about this with all the rumors going around of the direction being Charlotte Flair upon her return, going after Bianca and the Raw Women's title. I could definitely see that. I'm going to stick with my prediction. I'm going to tough it out, sticking with Bayley to win the championship. Finn Balor takes on Edge in an I Quit match. I'm going with Finn Balor. I think they do the finish where Edge said on Monday, he cannot and will not physically say the words I quit. Or rather, I'm sorry, he said there's nothing physically that you can do to me to make me say I quit. And that just feeds perfectly into my prediction from last week, which is that they don't have to do anything physically to him. All they have to do is threaten to do something physical to someone he loves. And that is his wife. If Beth Phoenix is in the building, if they show her, if she's on the show tomorrow night, there's your angle alert. I think they try to do something to Beth Phoenix. Edge has no choice but to say the words I quit to save his wife. Or they could do something to Rey Mysterio. They could have Dominic about to kill his father or something, and Edge has to say I quit to save Rey. But that, I think, is how they get to a Finn Balor win in that match. Liv Morgan defends her SmackDown Women's Championship against Ronda Rousey. This kind of ties into the Raw Women's Championship match. If the Raw Women's Championship match goes a different way, then I think this goes a different way too. But I have Liv Morgan retaining. I think Charlotte Flair does return, but I think she goes after Ronda Rousey to avenge the broken arm that Ronda gave her at WrestleMania Backlash. Not ideal, I guess, because if Charlotte does that, all it does is it once again gives us Charlotte and Ronda Rousey. I don't know if that's such a good thing or not, but again, I'll stick with my prediction. Liv Morgan is going to retain. Karrion Kross takes on Drew McIntyre in the strap match. I think a win here is way more important for Karrion Kross than it is for Drew McIntyre. Drew's in a tough spot because he lost the biggest match of his life at Clash at the Castle. And so if anybody needs a rebound win, it's Drew McIntyre. But I think Karrion needs it more. I think he'll get it. I think Karrion Kross gets the win in the strap match. And then we have the Fight Pit. Matt Riddle one-on-one with Seth Rollins. UFC Hall of Famer, former heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier will be the guest referee. I'm picking Matt Riddle to finally get the win that he has been searching for over Seth Rollins. I don't think they're bringing in Daniel Cormier to be the heel ref where he's got to raise the arm of the heel when it's over. I think he'll be raising Matt Riddle's arm when this match is over. And I know Michael Cole and Corey Graves are calling all the pay-per-views going forward. They'll be calling the show tomorrow night. Poor Jimmy Smith was, on Monday night. I'll talk more about this on Sunday. It's a whole story, but long story short, Triple H accidentally leaked to him that he was fired without actually saying that he was fired. So he knew before Raw even went on the air on Monday night. He went on live television to call what would end up being his final Monday Night Raw, knowing in his mind, based on something Triple H said to him backstage, that he was probably losing his job. He had this great line that he came up with about the history between, I think, Cormier and Matt Riddle. And he went to Triple H and said, I have this line. I want to use it. And Triple H says, that's great. Just let Cole know. Give it to Cole. And that was the tip-off in his brain. Well, why would I give it to Cole if I'm going to be there on Saturday calling the match? And in his mind, he put two and two together and said, I'm fired. I'm not going to be there on Saturday. So, which is a pretty shitty way to find out, I guess. But what I was going to say is, it's probably going to be Michael Cole and Corey Graves doing that match. If ever there was a match that I think it would be appropriate to bring him back for and have him call one more time, one match on the main roster, it would be Mauro Ranallo being brought in to cover the Fight Pit. Either be the play-by-play guy in place of Michael Cole or have him join Cole and Graves on commentary. Mauro kind of, he dominates when he's on the commentary team. So I don't know about the three-man booth. But if ever there was a time to bring him on in, I don't know that being on the road full-time, frankly, is something that would be good for him to be doing in WWE. It didn't work out the first time. I don't know if it would be good for his health. I'm not sure it's even something he would want to do. But as a one-off, I think Mauro Ranallo calling the Fight Pit would make a lot of sense. So that is the lineup for Extreme Rules tomorrow night. Of course, we are all expecting the Bray Wyatt reveal, White Rabbit reveal, Fiend reveal. I don't know what form it'll take. When is it going to happen? What match is it going to happen in? I mean, there's signs that Alexa Bliss is still going to be tied to Bray Wyatt in some way. Alexa Bliss has no match on the show. So there's no, if there was an Alexa Bliss match on the show, I would say, well, something is going to probably happen during that match. But there is no Alexa Bliss match on the show. I don't know. I assume it ties in with whatever his first feud is going to be. I mean, if I had to venture a guess, I would think it would have something to do with the strap match, with McIntyre and or Karrion Kross. It's got to be, I think, either the Fight Pit or the strap match. Post-match, as far as I think when we get the reveal. But I don't know. And frankly, I like it that way. I like the surprise element of this. Let them surprise me. Let them shock me tomorrow night. It's rare that happens. But I'm going to assume that it's got to be tied in with the strap match or the people in the strap match or the Fight Pit in some way. So that's your Extreme Rules lineup. And just so you are all aware, I will be live tomorrow night. We get to do it all over again. We've been streaming like crazy all week. We're going to be streaming again tomorrow night. As soon as Extreme Rules goes off the air, come on back to the channel. I'll be recapping the show, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. We'll talk about the White Rabbit. Talk about everything. That'll be tomorrow night on the channel. And also, don't forget, there's still time, guys. Wrestle Rumble. WrestleRumble.com. You can win one of those 3 championship belts you see on your screen. Big Gold, ECW World Heavyweight Championship, or the Winged Eagle. First, second, third place winners. It's only $1 to enter. I'm going to be picking the winners at random, live during the Extreme Rules review tomorrow night. You have up until the time the pay-per-view begins to get into the contest. Do not wait until the last minute, because I guarantee you that you will forget. You will forget, and then you will miss out on your opportunity to win a championship. Let's get to your super chats. See what you guys are talking about here tonight. A lot of news, a lot of things going on, a lot of wrestling tonight. SmackDown, AEW is still on the air. Impact, inexplicably running one of their biggest event, if not their biggest event of the year during SmackDown. I am still shaking my head at that. Couldn't do it sometime in the next 2 weeks. It had to be tonight. You've got the entire rest of the month. There isn't a single wrestling pay-per-view for the entire rest of the month. You can't pick a Saturday or a Sunday during one of those weekends. You'll still be competing with baseball, but you're going to be competing with something on every night. Groovy Goose. In a month where WWE has a fight pit match on pay-per-view, AEW has had 3 in the backstage area in the past month. Thanks for the fun streams, Solomonster. Hey, you know what? Things get dicey on the playground during recess. That's when shit goes down. That's when shit gets real. Zohawk Gaming with the $5 super chat. Happy belated birthday, Solomonster. You are the GOAT. You know, I still have my birthday hat here. I don't know. Should I put it on? What do you think? Nah? I still got my hat. Fire Panda with the $5. If Triple H came to you and told you that you now run WWE and you can do whatever you want with it, what would your 10-year plan be for WWE? 10-year plan? You want me to come up with a 10-year plan here on the spot? That's not how it works. That's not how it works. There has to be thought put into something like that. I always hated that question. You know, you go on a job interview. I don't know if they still do this anymore. I hope not. It's such a stupid thing to ask. But, yeah, you get that question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Probably not working for you. But if you gave that answer, you probably wouldn't get the job. So I don't even know why they bother asking it. I can't answer that question. There's lots of ideas. I can't properly answer that question. But Fire Panda also says, what is your favorite Sid Vicious quote? Mine is Goldberg, Goldberg, Goldberg. Oh, that's when Goldberg crushed his car. That's when he crushed Sid's car in the parking lot. No, I mean the best Sid quote has to be what was it, from Nitro, where he said, I have half the brain that you have. I forgot exactly how the quote goes. But yes, that would have to be the best Sid quote, I would think. Lord Frieza. Wow, there's a name we haven't seen in a while. Lord Frieza with the $9.99. Haven't been on here in a while due to work. I'll be taking vacations out of the country the next couple of weeks. Just wanted to show some love and wish the Solomonster and everybody else some love. Thank you, Lord Frieza. I hope you have fun on your vacation. I am envious of you. A vacation. What is that? What is a vacation? I don't know what that is. Somebody explain to me what that is. Shinakuma. Just like Bliss fan, I am a Bray Wyatt fan. I will cry tears of joy when I will finally see him return. Bliss fan tomorrow is for us. Yeah, you know, Bliss fan, are you ready for tomorrow? I think tomorrow is like Bliss fan's WrestleMania, I feel like. Bliss fan's going to be in the chat. He's going to be sitting at home. He's going to be in like a tuxedo. He's gonna have the fucking bow tie on. He's gonna have sequins on his jacket. He's getting ready, man. This is like his big weekend. I'm worried if it doesn't happen tomorrow. I'm worried what might happen. I said it the other night. I think he might spontaneously combust. Alex Jimenez. I popped for the Shapiro shoutout. I fit into that niche. Also, the white rabbit in the crowd was awesome. Yeah, it looked like the Easter Bunny was sitting behind him. Oh, there's the quote. You are half the man that I am, and I have half the brain that you do. That's right. You can't find a better Sid quote than that. It's not possible. I would say the second best Sid quote was from WrestleMania 8. There was a backstage interview before his match with Hogan. It was him and Harvey Whippleman and Mean Gene Okerlund, and Mean Gene was saying something, and Sid cut him off really angrily and said, "Shut up, you fat, bald-headed little oaf." That's got to be the second best one. Shut up, you fat, bald-headed little oaf. Internet Explorer user 2014 with the $5 super chat. With wrestlers backstage in WWE feeling like they walk on eggshells, it is refreshing to see how united the AEW locker room is. Happy belated 39th. Well, Internet Explorer user is catching up. He's making progress. He's not quite up to our timeline yet, but he's getting there. He's getting closer. Angel Silva with the $4.99. Who's winning this fatal four-way to the death? Freddie, Jason, Michael, or Leatherface? It's got to be between Jason and Michael. I don't know, Jason's hard to kill. I know I've been putting Michael over a lot on these streams. Fatal four-way to the death. I'm probably going Jason on that one. I think I'm going Jason. Black Wolf Inc. If the White Rabbit reveal happens in the main event, then I am betting it is Edge against Balor, since the storyline is the longest running since WrestleMania. Are you suggesting that the feud is going to be Bray and Edge? Because that is a match we've not seen before. Angel Silva. Also, who wins? Gus Fring versus Tony Soprano. They both have access to their crew, resources, and are both given a month to plan the hit out. Well, Tony is not a master strategist. He was a smart guy, but I would think that Gus would be probably better when it comes to the strategy part of that. I probably would go with Gus. Cameron Spencer, some matches are so bad that it's funny. What was funnier? Cole versus Lawler at Mania or Strowman against Fury? Both matches were hilariously bad. I didn't find anything funny about either one of them. Not even in like, well, it's so bad it's good. I didn't like either one of those matches. I'll go with Strowman and Fury just because they didn't overstay their welcome. Cole and Lawler just would not fucking end. There's no way Strowman and Fury was as long as Cole and Lawler, so that automatically gets my vote. Oni Loco in the chat says, Box Cutter beats the Gabagool. I saw this great tweet the other day, because it's Halloween month, right? So, I wish I would have saved it. It was, somebody took a picture of like Gabagool, but there was like a skeleton sitting there on the table, and the food was kind of like they put, it was almost like this food decoration like on the skeleton, and they called it the Gabagool. I laughed harder than I should have laughed. I just thought that was the funniest fucking, it doesn't take a lot to impress me. I just thought that was the funniest thing. That's all I see now in my head. The Gabagool here for Halloween. Where's the Gabagool? Aussie of Steel, buy, rent, sell on ring announcers. Lillian Garcia, Samantha Irvin, or JoJo. Lillian Garcia had an amazing voice. She had an incredible voice. Still does. But I have to say, I'm very impressed with Samantha Irvin so far. I think I would buy Samantha Irvin. I would rent Lillian, and I would sell JoJo. Don't tell Bray that I said that. Josiah Ball, happy late birthday, Solomonster. I love the main event. So damn good. Loving the Sami Zayn storyline. It's going to suck when they attack it. Rooster Loving Man. Heyman burying Peterson, Shapiro, and Tate popped me. I don't know. I just thought you're going to have more people probably watching that segment going, who? And I don't know. I just thought it was his weakest material in a very long time. Shinakuma, Bray Wyatt's booking used to literally give me depression. Anything he did, I was invested in. I hope things are different this time. I assume you mean that you were not invested in. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, TSN here in Canada trying to get me to watch Rampage by airing Battle of the Belts at 9 p.m. Mountain Time. Imagine watching Rampage over Solomonster. I know, right? Who the fuck would do that? Nobody with a brain would do that. Leonard McCormick, I know you don't like to get political. Are you a fan of Ben Shapiro? Well, you're right. I don't like to get political. We've got Mystifimanum. I don't know how that's pronounced. Will Ben Shapiro be added to be the booker? No. Although, you know, I should add the White Rabbit. I should add the White Rabbit. Rodimus Prime, $10 super chat. Always wanted to ask you this, but with everybody starting their own promotions, if you had your own, what would you call it, and who would you make your first world champion? I don't know, you think we should have the word Solomonster in there somewhere? Solomonster Supreme Wrestling or something? That's kind of lame. I don't know, you gotta brainstorm these things. You gotta come up with a list of different potential names. I feel like Solomonster would have to be in there somewhere. Who would I make my first world champion, though? That's a good question. I mean, if I have to go by who's available, I don't know. There's nobody available who I would probably want to put the title on. Although we have a pretty good crown jewel champion. He's a disgusting human being, but I got to give the devil his due. Charles Mason is the crown jewel champion in House of Glory right now, and I will give the devil his due. He is an incredible athlete. He's a great wrestler. I might have to go with him. I might have to go with Charles Mason. But if I would have access to anybody I want, you know, to make them my world champion, man, I don't know. Walter would have to be at the top of my list. I just think this guy is just perfect. I mean, you talk about like final boss material. Probably would go with Walter. You know, Walter is your champion. You can't go wrong with Walter in that role, you know? Lord Alfred Hayes. I think Lord Alfred Hayes should meet up with Ice Smoke a Lot of Weed one of these days. Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Thank you, Lord Alfred Hayes. Nick Grasso with the 1999 Super Chat drop. Birthday Solomonster is very, very much appreciative. Thank you. Great to see Legado del Fantasma and Zelina Vega in it is an upgrade. I am enjoying the QR codes and teasers. My guess is Bray returns tomorrow night, but he is not coming alone. I think he brings the Wyatt 6 with him. The Wyatt 6? Well, who exactly would be the Wyatt 6? Deep delicious chicken with flavor. Happy 30 years to Mortal Kombat. I remember playing the old Mortal Kombat arcade games at the bowling alley back in the day. Mortal Kombat 2. That was the shit. Everybody loved Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat Ultimate. I got a Mortal Kombat arcade downstairs right now, in fact. James Cooper with the $1.99. Should Triple H do in-your-house shows for the main roster? No. George Mazur with a $19.99. Thank you, George. What do you think of MVP as a member of Hit Row? Santos against Rey Mysterio needs to happen. And what do you see LA Knight doing in the long run? Happy Friday, Mr. Monster. I think LA Knight is going to make a hell of a heel champion at some point. I think that's where he'll really find more of his success, I feel. MVP is a member of Hit Row. I don't know if he fits Hit Row. I don't know if that's a good fit, but I do think they need a fourth member, third male member. And I agree. Escobar and Mysterio has to happen. It'll be a sin if that doesn't happen before Ray hangs it up. You know, another one that I used to play all the time, and I loved it. I used to play it on a PC, Virtua Fighter. Like, I love those types of games. Which MK was my favorite? 2. Mortal Kombat 2. That's the arcade I have. Rizzo, I saw that Impact had a pay-per-view tonight. Who in God's name thought that was a good idea? Can't wait for Extreme Rules tomorrow night. Fire Panda, make the LA Knight, yeah, a super chat, please, and thank you. I'll see what I can do. Lord Alfred Hayes. Tonight's Be the Booker card will headline Shotgun Saturday Night live from the Van Wyck Expressway. And I was a big fan of Lord Alfred Hayes until he mentioned the Van Wyck. Vontel, how do you feel about a Drew Gunther feud? Agreed with Hit Row needing another member, but it should not be Mello. Mello and Trick are special on their own. Yeah, I would not do Carmelo Hayes and Hit Row. Absolutely not. You know what? Drew and Walter at some point will be fantastic. I don't like the idea of doing it now because Drew McIntyre is, I think, very likely going to lose to Karrion Kross tomorrow night. He already lost to Roman Reigns. If he faces Walter, he's going to lose. I think he needs to face somebody where he can pick up a couple of wins. Now is not the time for him to be feuding with Walter, but I do think at some point down the road, absolutely, that's going to make for a hell of a match, hell of a main event. But you can't do it now. Drew's going to need a win. He cannot be beating Walter right now. Bernard Frederick found out today that Booker T will be NXT color commentator on Tuesdays. Booker said Michael Cole was key to him getting the job. What are your thoughts? Happy birthday. I will be talking more about the announcers and the big shakeup on Sunday, but the Booker T thing to me is not a big deal. Booker T is a rental. Wade Barrett is going to be back on NXT when Pat McAfee comes back to SmackDown. Bryant Finley, what do you make of the news that Saraya has been cleared to wrestle by Dr. Sampson? I think they should get another independent doctor to sign off. I would certainly hope that she has been cleared by more than just the AEW doctor. That's all I'm going to say. I am all for giving her an opportunity to get back in the ring so long as she can be cleared. But I would like to think and hope that she has gotten clearance from more than just the AEW doctor who said, yep, good to go. You're good to get back in the ring. Oh, Harold, random name of the day, Stacy Keibler. Any thoughts? Legs for days. The best legs in pro wrestling. Fire Panda, feed your head, Solomonster. I will be doing just that when we're done here on the stream. Always got to have that final snack here before I go to bed. Louis, we should all be dancing in a rain of confetti as we celebrate the return of the one and only LA Knight. Ask and you shall receive. Let's let the confetti rain down for the return of LA Knight. Yeah! We got LA Knight coming back. LA Knight finally is back. Let the confetti rain down. Ask and you shall receive. Joseph Brooks, you've said that Mr. McMahon is the greatest heel in WWE history. Does that then easily make Stone Cold Steve Austin the greatest babyface of all time since they were rivals? No, not necessarily. I mean, he is one of the greatest babyfaces of all time. But that doesn't necessarily automatically make him that. Rizzo with the $10 super chat. This could be controversial, and I know it's a demotion, but I would have kept Jimmy on Raw, Patrick to NXT, and gotten rid of Vic, Joseph, and put Jimmy on. Also, I've never heard of this Tate man. I think Andrew Tate is a football player. But again, I don't necessarily get all of the references. And Aussie of Steel, hey Solomonster, have you watched Wrestling with Regret on YouTube? Yeah, I'm friendly with Brian Zane. Again, I did karaoke with him in Vegas at the when we were there for the first Double or Nothing a few years ago. He's a good dude. I'll tell you what I regret. I regret doing that karaoke. That's what I regret. That's what I regret. Rooster Loving Man is back. $1.99. What if they put R-Truth with Hit Row? Yeah, I mean, if you want to turn them into a comedy act, go right ahead. I know R-Truth can sing. R-Truth can sing very well, but that's not how they use him. They use R-Truth as a comedy geek, and he does the comedy very well. Hey, there's Perk Angle. Say hi to Perk Angle, everybody. He wants to know if you've got some. He brought the cash. So yeah, WWE does not see R-Truth, I think, in the way that you are seeing him. They see him as a comedy character. If you want Hit Row to be nothing but pure comedy like the male models, then sure, go ahead. Paul Heyman. Our friend Paul Heyman is back. Happy 10-year anniversary of the time when CM Punk smacked a fan in the crowd after his street fight with Mr. McMahon on Raw. You left out the best part of that, though. Not only did CM Punk punch a fan in the crowd, he punched the wrong fan. Somebody reached out behind him and smacked him in the head, and when Punk turned around, he hit the wrong person. Not the first time that CM Punk has thrown fists. King Bling Blah. Where's the best place for an actual Hall of Fame building? Universal Studios in Orlando. Milton Herrera Ramoldi. $3 super chat. Hands down, best wrestling podcast in the biz. First time super chatter. I'll be at the show on Wednesday. How disappointing is the card and build for AEW's first show in Canada? It's pretty lackluster. I think Jericho and Danielson will be great. But beyond that, yeah, I agree. I think it's underwhelming. Jericho and Danielson will be good, though. You know that won't be anything less than very good. Groovy Goose, channel member for 12 months, says, I respect you, Solo Man. You better. You better put some respect on that name. We're going to have a problem. Oh, Andrew Tate is an ex-kickboxer. Is that the Andrew Tate they were referring to tonight? Again, I didn't get that reference. I didn't get. So Battle of the Belts, I would imagine, should be ending here in a few minutes. I will talk if anything important, really important happened. Again, I'll probably just talk about it on the podcast on Sunday. But we'll be covering a lot of different stuff on Sunday. Obviously, the Extreme Rules fallout from the pay-per-view. I've got a lot to say about this announcer situation in WWE. A lot to say about Nigel McGuinness being released by WWE. Obviously, a lot on the AEW situation with Andrade and Sammy Guevara. And Saraya, now we are hearing, is cleared to wrestle. There was some sad tweet stuff involving our old friend Vince Russo that I may cover as well. The very sad news, of course, the passing of Sarah Lee. Mandy Rose, who was on that same Tough Enough season with Sarah Lee, she lost her brother, her older brother, this week. So unfortunately, those are some terrible situations, but it was also very encouraging to see the wrestling community come together in the way that it has, with the GoFundMe for Sarah Lee. It had a $20,000 goal. Last I checked, it was closing in on $100,000. That is amazing. But that is also a very, very sad situation. And I did watch the first episode of Tales from the Territories on Vice, so I will try to put some thoughts down on that, and we'll talk about that as well. Hey Milton, thank you for becoming a channel member. Milton just became a channel member. The next time that we have one of our watch-alongs, it will be members only in the chat, and Milton will be able to join in on the conversation. So welcome to Milton. Drew with the $1.99 super chat. Daddy Solo, I'm drunk, but I miss you, man. I'm always here, Drew. I'm not going nowhere. You always know where to find me. And Groovy Goose, what did you think of the last Tough Enough series? I was more of a Tough Enough fan kind of in the earlier days than the later seasons, but I remember Sarah Lee was the sentimental favorite on the women's side, and ZZ. Remember ZZ? ZZ was the sentimental favorite on the men's side. I remember that. I remember Hogan was a judge, and then, of course, he got bounced. I think he got replaced. Did he get replaced by Daniel Bryan? I think is who he got. He got replaced by somebody. Lord Alfred Hayes, to quote Solomonster, LOL TNA. LOL TNA now, then, now, and forever, right? Louie with the $4.99. You are a cool guy. Here's more money. Get yourself some ice cream. I'll do that. I got some fake ice cream, actually. I got some of that non-dairy ice cream downstairs in the freezer. Some good shit, too. Really good shit. And Dr. Dakota, hilarious that WWE hires an operations manager to handle conflict with talents after the Andrade and Sammy drama. Yeah, I think that thing is a little blown up. I saw that job listing weeks ago. And again, it's not, the position is not to handle conflicts between talents backstage. In the copy for the job listing, if I remember correctly, among all of the person's responsibilities, it just mentioned the fact that you need to be prepared to deal with different egos behind the scenes. That's really all it says. Somehow this got blown up into WWE saw what happened in AEW and decided, oh, we need some kind of fucking therapy counselor. That's not really what this is, but I guess it makes for a sexier story. I saw that job listing weeks ago, though, that they put out. Not that I was applying for it. I have absolutely no desire for any of that, but it's not exactly a new thing. And Zizou, who is your all-time personal favorite heel? Well, I said Mr. McMahon was the greatest, I think, greatest heel in history. I'm trying to think if he would be my personal favorite heel or if it would be somebody else. McMahon McMahon's hard to top, but Randy Savage was a great heel also. You know, Macho Man, Macho King. Loved Randy Savage growing up. His body of work stands up. He's a great babyface too. Babyface and heel. It's tough. I got a few that I can name. You know, Corporate Rock, Mr. McMahon, Macho Man, Jake the Snake. Jake the Snake during that period in late 91 into the beginning of 92. You know what? I might go with Jake. It was a relatively brief period of time, but you want my personal favorite? That period of Jake Roberts, it's hard to find a better heel than that. I mean, a scary individual, somebody who knew their part, who played it to a hilt, and probably, you know, part of it was his real personality shining through as well. Heel Jake from the end of 91, I'd put him at the top of my list, man. But there have been some great ones. Or Wizzle, thank you for the $4.99. I appreciate it. GCC 305, $5 super chat. Solomonster, good evening. Had somebody at work bless me tonight with a cable charger for my phone. So to spread that good karma, here is $5. Oh, you're very kind. EJ Slemp with the $4.99. I am binge watching the WWE Legends of Wrestling Roundtable show from 24/7 on demand service. I'm loving it. Did you ever watch it? Of course, I watched every episode. It was a great show. They should bring it back. They had a whole bunch of people on there, right? Mean Gene hosted it. JR may have hosted a few of them also, but they had JR. They had Michael Hayes on there. Dusty was on there smoking a cigar as he's talking. They had other people on there too. Flair was on there. Foley, Pat Patterson. All kinds of people. It was a fun show, though. Aussie of Steel, for pure nostalgia, 2009 Randy Orton. That's another good one. Bryant Finley with the 10 spot. Have you heard the story that Tony Khan was responsible for starting the wrestling sleaze thread about 15 years ago? Would you ever consider doing a one-off podcast on that thread? It would be awesome. You know, I heard about that a long time ago. I don't know, does he take credit for that, or is that just something that people think they uncovered on their own? If somebody links me to it, I would read through the thread again and see if there's stuff there to cover. Maybe I'd even work it into an RSPW rewind, even though it's technically not RSPW. Yeah, somebody has to send that to me. Send me the wrestling sleaze thread, and I'll look through it and see. Dr. Dakota, actually, Kevin Dunn's Beaver. Let's get to him first. He's chomping at the bit here. Kevin Dunn's Beaver, Shucky Ducky Quack Quack, the Beaver is back. And Dr. Dakota, did we hit 500? Let's check and see. Let's see if we hit our goal for tonight. And indeed, we did. We have smashed 500 likes, which means it is time, once again, to be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Yes, indeed. We had a very horrible night of Be the Booker the other night. I am trying to put that in the past. Tonight is a fresh start. We are starting anew. Can't possibly be any worse than it was the other night, right? It can't be possible. Begin with the Big Show. Was I not just talking about this the other night? Kane and the Big Show. Now here is the Big Show in Be the Booker. Look at this. I'm doing a dance on Big Show's face. I don't do that happy dance when I see Big Show. That's not the Big Show happy dance. Let's see. Big. Oh, I swear to God, if I land on Kane, I'm shutting this shit down. I'll pull the plug on this machine myself. If I land on Kane, so help me God. Big Show gonna go one-on-one with Minoru Suzuki. Murder Grandpa going to put down the Big Show. I'll buy that. Murder Grandpa and the Big Show. Now there's a match. It's different, right? Match we've not seen before. You didn't think I was going to give a Big Show match the bell. I swerved you there. On the women's side, we begin with Thunder Rosa. And Thunder Rosa will be going one-on-one here and Be the Booker with Candice Michelle. I think about this one here. Candice Michelle improved a lot. I have to give her credit. Candice Michelle improved a lot from where she started to where she was the last time I saw her in the ring. Candice Michelle against Thunder Rosa. You know what? It's not an enthusiastic bell, but I will give that the bell because I do think that has the potential to be a pretty decent match. Now over on the tag team side, let's wrap this up. Let's see if we can go 3 for 3. Let's see if we can go 3 for 3. We begin with Best Friends. Well, 2 out of 3 is not terrible. We've got Best Friends, Trent and Chuck. And Trent and Chuck will be getting into the ring with Otis and Chad Gable. I'm going to leave this up to you guys. What do you think? Best Friends and Alpha Academy. Is that a buzzer or is that a bell? Because I am kind of on the... I love Alpha Academy. But I am kind of... I would be inclined to give it the bell. I would be inclined. It was a perfectly fine undercard match, but I will let you guys decide. I'm seeing buzzer. I'm seeing a mixed reaction. I'm seeing a mixed reaction here. Let me give it the bell. Again, not an enthusiastic bell, but I will give it the bell. So we went from that horrible night on Wednesday to a 3 for 3 night. Barely, but 3 for 3. It's just the Best Friends. It's not that they're bad. It's just that, didn't do anything for me. I can't get excited about that. But Alpha Academy, I like Alpha Academy. Louis with the $4.99. The Knicks winning a championship again would be the cure to all the world's ills. Well, then I guess the world is going to be pretty fucking sick for a long time, if that's the case. Frankie Rodriguez, the most divisible questing in all... What? I assume you mean divisive question. He said divisible questing. I feel like an English teacher. I'm like fixing people's mistakes when I'm grading papers. The most divisive question in all of pro wrestling. Does Trent Beretta deserve a singles title run? It wouldn't be my priority. I wouldn't bother, but you might have some people who want to see that. I don't care one way or the other. I don't see how that's the most divisive question. I think you are exaggerating a bit. Joseph Brooks, in the cases of Rock at WrestleMania 18 and Batista at Royal Rumble 2014, do you think the reason they got booed wasn't because the fans absolutely hated them? It was just that there was someone the fans wanted more. Yes. Yes. That's exactly why they got booed. It was less about hate for them, and it was more about we like the other guy, or we want the other guy. Pure and simple, especially in 2014. You know, it wasn't Batista's fault. Batista didn't do anything wrong. There was somebody else that people wanted to see more, who they felt deserved that spot more than he did. Lord Alfred Hayes. Who wanted Rosa to be a referee? Was it Vince or Triple H? It might have been Johnny Ace. I've heard conflicting stories about that. I've heard also that it was Rosa's idea that she be a referee because I don't think they wanted her as a wrestler. So she might have suggested maybe being a referee. Again, I've heard different versions of this, but even the idea that you would just bring her in as anything but a wrestler. You either have interest in her as a wrestler or not. I mean, there's value in her in the ring. You know, it's just mind-boggling to me. Joshua Bonfield. You need a mid-card buzzer on Be the Booker. No, there's a buzzer and a bell. Very simple. We keep it simple. There's a buzzer or there's a bell. There's no layers. There's no levels to it. It's either one or the other. You either like it or you don't. Duat says, I need a mid-card sigh as a sound effect. Maybe we change the bell. Maybe we use the LA Knight yeah as the effect in place of the bell. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions on how we can change some of those things. Cameron Spencer says, do you agree with the notion that faces can't get over in 2022 and companies should book everyone as a tweener and let the fans choose who to cheer? That is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know who said that, but no, I don't agree with that. Fire Panda. Queen Fire Panda. If the White Rabbit is the Fiend, then can you open the Extreme Rules stream with, it's time to let him in and feed your head? Why don't I just play the Jefferson Airplane song? I'll just play the Jefferson Airplane song. You know, I'll just, you know, we can just have the stream taken down right away. Why don't we just do that? Yeah, I've heard that YouTube is making changes and they're going to soon allow content creators to begin using licensed, like real licensed music from art. You can buy a license. Of course, we have no idea how much that will cost, but you can buy a license and use real music. And at first I heard that and I said, sounds a little too good to be true. And sure enough, I'm like reading up more about it. It hasn't rolled out fully yet. But I read up a little more about it. It's like, yeah, there's going to be a certain number of songs in their library that you'll have access to. And I'm looking at like a sampling of some of the songs. I don't recognize any of these fucking songs. So I don't know if that's going to end up being what people are making it out to be or not. But I'll tell you what, if that happens and they have the Jefferson Airplane song in that gallery, we can play it to our heart's content here on the streams. Although it might be old news by the time YouTube actually rolls that stuff out. Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia's tag team name should be Daniel Bryan. Thank you. I'll be here all week. That's true. I hadn't really thought about that, but you know what? That's true. I think WWE might have had an issue with that. State of Combat, thank you for the compliment. Bliss fan is convinced that Alexa is going to have something to do with the ladder match. Well, she will if she and Asuka come out to counter Damage Control. Are you implying that she's going to cost Bianca the match? I mean, what exactly do you think Alexa is going to do? That's a good way. That's a good way to get AEW sued. Yeah, I agree. Dakota says, adrenaline in my soul. Watching baseball takes its toll. Good night, everyone. And KGBLK24, do you think Tony Khan should release Andrade? Well, apparently that's what he wants. But the way he went about it, he kind of fucked himself. So I would sit him at home. Pay him on his contract and sit him at home. It's because you want out. Doesn't mean you should be allowed to go around punching people in the face. That would set a horrible example and a horrible precedent if Tony Khan just gave in and gave him what he wanted. You can't do that. You can't be doing that. GCC says, I can't wait for licensed music to be allowed just so we can hear Hall & Oates Out of Touch on the YouTube videos. You know me all too well. I have a feeling that they will not be. See, here's the caveat on that whole YouTube thing. In the article I was reading, it might have been on The Verge, theverge.com. There, in the fine print, it says something about how there's going to be at least a couple of 100,000 songs in the library to begin with, and they have some record labels that have signed on. But then the little caveat in the article, it says none of the major labels have signed on yet. It's like, it's kind of an important point to mention a little further up in the story, I would think, is that none of the major record labels have actually signed on to this so far. I would think that's an important detail that you would want people to know about. Skywalker, I'm disappointed that you did not mention the 20th anniversary of the infamous blindfold match between Triple H and D'Lo Brown on Monday Night Raw. I had forgotten about that. That's not the match where D'Lo won the European title, is it? That might have been a different match. Louis says, budget cuts, kid. Laurinaitis voice. Budget cuts. That's my finishing move. It's the budget cuts. Sounds like he smoked 15 packs a day for most of his life. Rizzo with the $10. If it's not Bray tomorrow, I may have to reenact the Simpsons gif. A village with torches finding Bliss fan. Also, I picture Andrade like Costanza trying to get fired from the Yankees. Yeah, or Jimmy McGill from Better Call Saul. Bryant Finley with the $5. I can't send you the sleaze thread link. What is the best way to do it? Oh, I can send you. Yes. Just email it to me. thesolomonster@gmail.com. You could tweet it also, but tweet, email. Email might be better. Miguel says, Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer against Ace Austin and Chris Bay. What are your thoughts? What is that for? Don't tell me that's the Impact pay-per-view. That sounds terrible. All right, I think I'm caught up on all of your messages and all your questions. I hope I tried to do a good job of answering them. Again, I appreciate all the support for the birthday and otherwise over the last couple of days. It's been a good few days. Very busy. It's going to get busier tomorrow. I have, of course, the podcast on Sunday to prepare for, but tomorrow night, we're going to be back here live on YouTube for the Extreme Rules review and the Wrestle Rumble winners. We'll pick them on the stream. Here's the poll on Twitter. You guys seem to like SmackDown tonight. 73% thumbs up in the poll. And I think that about covers all the key stuff. Good show tonight. Be well. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your night. And I will see you back here in less than 24 hours. We're going to talk about Extreme Rules, the White Rabbit. We could be talking about Bray tomorrow night. Bliss fan, get ready. I'm thinking of you. Get those White Rabbit emojis in the chat. I want to see those White Rabbits here as we go off the air. Everybody pop in those White Rabbits in the chat. Bliss fan is going to have his WrestleMania moment tomorrow night. We're going to lift him up on our shoulders and carry him around the ring. He's going to be so happy. But if it doesn't happen, if they swerve us, I worry about Bliss Fan. I really do. I really do. But I think he's going to have a very big night tomorrow night. I'll see you guys then. All right, take care. I'll see you for the Extreme Rules.